Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
My cheating wife panicked when I showed up instead of her affair partner, exposing the double life she thought she had hidden. My friend Francis was picking me up for a 4-day hunting trip, so I said goodbye to my wife as he loaded all his gear into the truck. Preparation was key. He uncovered the truck bed and opened a drawer behind the cab. "Put your rifle here," he said, pointing to the box. I placed it inside and climbed into the cab. As we pulled away, I glanced back at the house. The front door was already closed. Francis drove us to his family's old cabin, now maintained by his Uncle Bob, who couldn't get around much anymore. Francis had taken over upkeep and made a lot of improvements: better insulation, a new wood stove, and even a satellite dish for internet and TV. "There's no solid cell coverage," Francis told me, "but you can use WhatsApp on Wi-Fi if you want to call Maeve." "She's not expecting much contact," I replied. "Honestly, I like being off the grid. I won't even mention we have internet." That night we watched SportsCenter over dinner. Later, I read a John Sandford novel while Francis browsed his laptop. We were on our second beers, enjoying the quiet. This wasn't just a party trip, we were there to challenge ourselves, maybe come back with venison. Then Francis swore. "Oh crap." I looked up. His eyes were locked on the screen. "Holy double crap," he muttered, then looked at me, clearly disturbed. I set my book down. "What's going on?" He hesitated. "You need to see this." He turned the laptop toward me. Expecting some kind of breaking news, I crossed the room and sat beside him. But it wasn't a news site, it was a dating site. On the screen was a photo of Maeve smiling. Her smile always struck me as a little sinister. "What the hell is this?" I asked. Francis looked helpless. "Sorry, Matthew. It's a hookup site." "A hookup site?" I said, stunned. "After Trina and I broke up, I was in a bad place for a while," Francis admitted. "Eventually, I tried Tinder and a few other places just to meet women. Some of these sites skip the dating part altogether." I stared at him. "There are married people on there," he added. "Lots of them. Women, too." I looked back at the screen. Another photo of Maeve appeared, and my gut twisted. Francis added quickly, "Look, some profiles are fake. People steal images and post them without consent. Maybe she's a victim of that. I've never seen her on here before." I hoped he was right, but the pictures were real too real. One in particular gutted me. She was wearing the outfit I gave her last Christmas. The picture was clearly recent, and I hadn't taken it. Then I read the profile description. "Can you help me with my daddy issues?" And no, I don't mean a sugar daddy. I think my dad always wanted to, He hasn't yet, but I wonder what it would be like. I think about it a lot. My dad, now middle-aged, but still attractive. Sometimes I picture him when he was younger. I even imagine a viral retired man. This daddy's girl would be happy to help. So if you're clean and fit the description, please send a photo. I'm alone for the long weekend and would love some quality daddy-daughter time. Below the profile was a box that read, "Current status, closing soon." I looked at Francis. "Daddy issues? What the hell?" "Maybe this is actually good," Francis said quickly, noticing my reaction. "Some cheating wives aren't unhappy in their marriages, they just have fantasies they're too afraid to share. Maybe it's about trying something new, or maybe she has a daddy kink." He shrugged. I kept reading, a lump forming in my throat. Francis said, "So, you found double crap." "Double crap indeed," I muttered. The profile continued. "Dad's family is from Greece and Italy, so he has that classic Mediterranean look: dark eyes, dark curly hair, a strong nose with a slight Roman hump. If that's you, I'm looking forward to a daddy-daughter date. If you're 6 feet 5 inches with a long-distance runner's build, it's going to be a hot weekend." "What the hell?" I whispered. Francis replied cautiously, "I thought you knew." "Clearly, you didn't." "Not a clue, man. Not a single damn clue." We were both stunned. Maeve's father, Sean, was pale-skinned with rust-brown hair, a classic Irishman. The description fit me, not him. Then came the triple crap. Beneath Maeve's profile was a chat room link. I scrolled through the messages, and one jumped out. "Hi. I've had a lot of free time this month. Do you have a place for me?" Maeve had replied, "Oh yes. I can make room. Let me know when I can see you again. Did you have a good time last month?" "Jesus Christ," I muttered, shocked. "She's been doing this for a while." I turned to Francis. "Can you tell how long she's been on this site? Maybe she's doing it for money." He looked over it. "As far as I can tell, it's just a dating site. Doesn't look like she's running a business. This seems like fun for her. She thought once would be enough," I growled. "If it really was only once. Now she's planning a whole weekend while I'm gone." "Damn, Matthew," Francis said. "It's a pop-up site for speed dating, not long-term hookups. Make a date with her," I said suddenly. "Swipe right or whatever. See if she's actually available this weekend. I want to know if she's really doing this while I'm up here." "I could try," Francis said reluctantly, "but I don't match the description. She wants a picture." And then it hit me, she wanted a picture of me. I shared my idea with Francis. We'd use my photo to set her up. He agreed it was a good idea. I reminded him it might be too late to catch her in the act. I could still ruin her weekend, I muttered, by messaging her in the chat room that I'm coming home early with a rifle. Francis shook his head. Best not to warn her. She said she's free Friday and Sunday, so she's probably scheduling something then. We had taken Friday and Monday off for the hunting trip. I wasn't expected home until Monday afternoon. If you text her now, Francis said with a bitter edge, she'll have time to put her lies in order. His voice was heavy with the same anger I felt. I remembered his ex, Trina, had left him for her boss. If we go now, Francis said, you'll catch her in person with proof. He grinned as he studied Maeve's profile. It was just over a 3-hour drive back home, and on the way, we discussed our options whether to confront her directly, follow her to her dates, or catch her with her daddy. The most serious topic was the inevitable divorce. Francis's own painful experience with divorce law gave him insight that would help me. 2 hours later, we were on our third run-through of possible plans, driving mostly in silence. Around 10:45 p.m., we turned onto my street. Francis slowed down as we approached my house. Keep going, I told him. He gave me a sharp look but pressed the gas. Turn the corner and stop, I said firmly. He obeyed, then glanced at me again. There's a car parked across from your house. I don't recognize it. Nobody parks on the street here at night. She's already started, and she's doing it in our house. I reached for the door. Thanks, buddy. You can go. Screw that, Francis replied. We've got a plan. Either we check it out together or leave and deal with it tomorrow. No, I said firmly. I need to know now. Come on, Matthew. Even if she's alone, it proves nothing, and you'll just be wrecked. I need to know, I repeated. Okay, plan B, he said, turning the truck toward the alley behind my house. We look around, then head back to my place, he said in a more serious tone. My divorce taught me not to act on impulse. Figuratively speaking, I thought especially with my rifle still in the truck. Francis parked, and we walked silently in the dark toward my backyard, staying in the shadows. I lifted the latch on the alley gate, hoping Maeve had forgotten to lock it after taking out the trash. She had. We slipped inside. Our bedroom was in the back corner of the house. A faint light glowed behind the drawn curtains. Avoiding leaves and noise, we crept closer. I tried peeking in, but the curtain blocked most of the view. Francis shook his head. I moved in even closer and found a gap. Through it, I saw Maeve and an older man on our bed. I nearly smashed the window in a blind rage, but stopped myself, remembering my Leatherman tool. As I reached for it, I felt Francis's hand grip my arm, stopping me. He signaled for silence and pulled me back. I resisted, but eventually stepped away. Francis threw his hands up and walked toward the gate. I followed. As we walked back to the truck, I glanced at the lockbox hidden under the seat, knowing it held our rifles, a .357 Magnum, and bear spray. Francis ignored my plea for confrontation and said, "We've been here too long." He started the engine and pulled out of the alley, driving to an empty grocery store parking lot a few blocks away. The store was closed, and only a few employee cars were left. Why don't I just go back there and kick some ass? I asked, needing Francis's calm voice of reason again. Because you'd end up in jail, he said. It's not the guy's fault. Maeve invited him. He probably doesn't even know she's married. He was right. I needed to be cold and calculating if I wanted to come out of this divorce to my best advantage. I echoed Francis's words back to him. Cold and calculating. Back at Francis's apartment, he locked up all the weapons and bear spray in his gun cabinet, refusing to let me near them while I was still in shock. We sat at the kitchen counter in silence as Francis poured us each a shot of tequila. Silently toasting the madness of it all, we followed our tequila shots with Pacifico beers. She's cheating on you with you, Francis said, still trying to make sense of the situation. Maybe she's chasing the spark from when you first met. I wasn't 55 back then, I replied, and our bed's not exactly gone cold. Maybe she does love you, he continued. Maybe she just wants more of you. Daddy could be her way of justifying it. I shook my head, rejecting the theory outright. Francis then floated the idea of opening the relationship to control it, but one look from me shut that down fast. I simply asked for another pour. We overslept Friday morning, but got back to the plan. Francis dropped me off at a car rental agency, where I picked up an unremarkable sedan. Then I headed to a bank Maeve and I had never used. I opened a checking account using part of our trip money. I transferred half of our savings and 20% of our checking balance into the new account. The banker, Jim, reminded me to leave enough funds in the joint account to cover mortgage payments, car loans, and credit cards to protect my credit. He also helped me set up the bank's mobile app on my phone. Next stop was a T-Mobile store. I bought a dual SIM phone with a high-end camera. I didn't alter our family phone plan to avoid raising any red flags with Maeve. Francis convinced me to use the time between now and Monday to my advantage, even though I was itching to confront her right away. Sir, is everything okay? I blinked, realizing I was still seated at the T-Mobile table. The employee had been explaining how to switch between SIM cards, and I'd been lost in dark thoughts. Sorry, I said. Banged my knee yesterday. It's been sending sharp jolts of pain. She gave me a skeptical look. That doesn't sound good. Hope you feel better soon. She finished her instructions, and I left the store, limping slightly. Francis and I regrouped at a nearby Starbucks to finalize our next steps. Then we headed back to my neighborhood. Francis left his conspicuous truck parked in the same supermarket lot from the night before, now busier with cars, while we drove to my house in the rented sedan. My car was parked in the garage, but Maeve's car and the red Hyundai Accent were both gone. We pulled into the alley. I jumped out and slipped through the back gate, still unlocked, thankfully. I almost reminded myself to tell Maeve to start locking it again, but then thought better of it. Her forgetfulness was a lucky break. Entering through the front door might draw attention from the neighbors, so I stuck to the plan. Francis took his position back in the supermarket lot. Our usual route home was via Tompkins Parkway and 3rd Street, so Francis had a clear view. Caution was crucial. Maeve was supposed to be at work, but I wasn't taking chances. I unlocked the back door and stepped into the utility room. Using a long pole, I pulled down the attic ladder. As I poked my head through the hatch, my walkie-talkie beeped twice, Francis's signal that he was in position. He would beep every 10 minutes to mark time. I briefly hit the transmit button to confirm I received it. Attic was a generous term for the low crawl space tucked under the eaves. I had to crouch to move around. Fortunately, the luggage I needed was only a few feet from the opening. I grabbed a canvas gear bag and an old backpack-style briefcase, avoiding the nicer bags downstairs to minimize any visible trace. I closed the attic carefully, checking for any smudges or signs I'd been there. Then I headed to the alcove in the living room we used as a home office. From the small safe, I took my passport, social security card, will, birth certificate, and our marriage license, tucking them into the briefcase. There was also $2,000 in cash. I took half. The safe contained several gold coins worth about $5,000, but I only grabbed the purchase receipt to avoid drawing suspicion. Francis's double beep on the walkie-talkie signaled I'd been inside for 10 minutes. I moved to the bedroom and packed just enough clothes so it wouldn't be obvious: black slacks, 2 dress shirts, 2 ties, dress socks, and black loafers. The toughest part was setting up surveillance. At Starbucks, Francis and I had tested the new phone's time-lapse feature. We didn't need audio. Visuals were enough. I hid the phone inside a cabinet, wedged between my hats, so it had a clear view of about 80% of the bed. I also adjusted the curtains for a better view next time, despite Francis's advice against pushing it. Another 10-minute warning from Francis came just as I finished. I headed to the living room, where we had placed a trail camera from the cabin on a tall bookshelf. It was angled to cover the sitting area, equipped with a motion sensor, fully charged battery, and a fresh SD card, perfect for the 3-day weekend. The phone in the bedroom was set to upload images to my cloud every 6 hours. I exited the house with 2 minutes to spare and caught Francis's final signal. We regrouped in the supermarket parking lot and kept watch on the corner of 3rd Street and Tompkins Parkway. Next, we went through the KFC drive-thru and sat at Francis's kitchen table, surrounded by food and scattered paperwork. Each of us had a notebook filled with to-do lists. Our operation was starting to resemble a corporate takeover. I wasn't really hungry, but picked at some chicken tenders and fries, more focused on the Jack Daniels Francis had poured into my cola. Time to text her, Francis said. Gotta keep things looking normal. Maeve knew the mountain signal was unreliable, and she leaned on that excuse to avoid awkward calls. Our routine was to send a check-in text just in case I found service on a hike. I hesitated at the screen. What do I even say? Give me that, Francis said, grabbing the phone. Just send what you always do. He scrolled through old messages, found one, and read it aloud as he typed. Hey babe, we got here without any problems. The weather seems good. We'll be out on the trail early in the morning. I'll text again later. Zoxo Matthew. He hit send, then immediately began dialing another number. Next, call your lawyer, Francis said. He introduced me to Kelsey Dwight, the attorney who had handled his own divorce. Then he handed me the phone. Hello, Matthew, came a warm voice. Francis, didn't tell me your last name was Carson, but just call me Kelsey. Matthew's fine, I said. Okay, Matthew. I understand this situation hit hard and fast, and sounds pretty ugly, she said. Yeah, pretty damn ugly, I admitted. Excuse the language. She chuckled. Don't worry. If you can't vent to your lawyer, who can you vent to? That broke the tension a little. So, are you officially my lawyer? I mean, do I need one? I asked. Let's start with the second question, she said. This is about infidelity, right? Are you open to forgiving and trying counseling? Hell no, I replied without hesitation. Are you willing to use the court's online system to file on your own? She asked. That's only for no-fault cases, right? I can't file for infidelity there, I replied. Correct. If you want infidelity to influence alimony and related matters, you'll need an attorney, she explained. Can you represent me? Francis says you did right by him, I said. Did he tell you what it cost? She asked. He did, I confirmed. Our rates have gone up a bit, but I'll honor Francis's rate for you. Sound fair? She offered. Yes. When can we meet? I asked. I can fit you in Monday morning, she said. I covered the phone and whispered to Francis. She wants to start right away, says the case is interesting. He grinned. Told you. That works for me, I told Ms. Dwight. Should I bring my proof? You already have some? She asked. I take it you just discovered the betrayal? Yes. We took screenshots of her profile and saw her with a guy last night. I also installed a camera in our bedroom to catch anything else over the weekend, I explained. So she's actively advertising online for partners? She asked. Yes, and she's looking for guys who resemble me, I added. Just to clarify, haven't you gained a lot of weight since you got married? She asked bluntly. No, I said. I'm 6 foot even, 185 pounds, just 5 pounds heavier than when we married. I lift and run regularly. Good to know. We'll talk more on Monday, she replied. All right, Matthew, after we hang up, I'll open a secure data transfer portal and send you the login code. Francis knows the site. Upload any evidence you have, and I'll review it before our meeting at 11 a.m. on Monday. 11 a.m. Monday. Got it. I'll see you then, I said. And Matthew, she added, stay away from your wife until we meet. Don't go back home. I practice family law, not criminal law. Understood, I said after a pause. Once I received the secure code from her, I uploaded screenshots of Maeve's online profile. Francis checked my phone just as a message from my wife came in. Miss you, but hope you're having fun. Happy hunting. Love you, Ma. Francis typed a reply for me. No deer yet. We're about to crash for the night. Then he placed the phone inside his safe. This will act like a Faraday cage, he explained. I'll hit send, but the signal won't go out. When you power the phone back on later, it'll look like the message was delayed because of a bad signal. You read too many spy novels, I said, but I appreciated it. Francis then opened up about his own divorce, how he still had to pay spousal support and cover the mortgage even while his ex was with another man. I silently hoped Maeve's betrayal would spare me that fate. Using Francis's hard-earned knowledge, we took action. I closed my investment accounts, changed all of Maeve's login credentials, updated contact info to my new phone and email, and canceled our joint credit cards except the one Maeve used for everyday purchases, which I left active but reduced the credit limit. As the 6-hour mark neared, it was time to check the first batch of data uploaded from the house to my cloud account. I nearly lost my KFC when I saw what my wife had been up to. I'd set the phone to take 6 photos every 30 seconds, every 15 minutes. The first batch showed an empty bed now made up with different pillowcases. Out of the sets collected, 6 were blank, and 5 captured her with 2 different lovers. I need to get out of here, I groaned, swallowing hard. Yeah, Francis said quietly. Come on, I'll buy you a drink. No, I need to be alone, I said firmly. I don't think that's a good idea, Matthew, he cautioned. Damn it, Francis. I need to throw up. I need to cry. I just need to be alone. I get it, he said, more gently. But driving drunk or getting into trouble won't help anything. I won't drink. I won't go home. I'll just get on the highway and clear my head, I promised. He hesitated but finally agreed, sending the photos of each daddy to Kelsey Dwight before I left. He reminded me to turn my phone back on so Maeve would receive my delayed text, and so he could check in with me. I thanked him and promised to stay sober. I drove 30 minutes north, then looped back, letting the night settle fully. The supermarket was still open, so I parked there again, then made my way to the house through the alley. The back gate was locked this time, but I scaled the fence. Moving quietly through the yard, I peeked through a gap in the curtains. Maeve was in bed with someone. Just as I moved toward the back door, my phone lit up with a text, followed by a call from Francis. I dismissed both and kept moving. Suddenly, from the shadows, I heard, "I see you, idiot." It was Francis, standing in the bed of his truck. "Get over here, or I'll start honking," he warned. I crept back toward the fence, making more noise than I liked. The last thing I needed was a neighbor calling the cops. "What the hell?" I hissed. "She's in there with some toy soldier," Francis growled. "I'm going in. Time to teach him some manners. Get out of here, or I'll call the police myself," I snapped. I climbed over the fence and into the truck bed. Francis drove off silently, and we ended up at a bar on Tompkins Parkway, just 2 blocks from the supermarket. We grabbed a back booth, and Francis pushed a shot of Jim Beam and a Budweiser in front of me, making me drink both before letting me speak. "I've had enough," I muttered. "She's turned my house into a damn brothel. I'll never sleep there again. But I'll be damned if I let this disrespect go unanswered." "Okay then, let's stop it," Francis said calmly. "What?" I asked, thrown off. "Give me your phone." He scrolled through my contacts and called Maeve, putting it on speaker. After 5 rings, she answered breathless. Matthew? Why are you on me? What a nice surprise. You must really miss me, she said sweetly. Hi, Ma. It's Francis, he replied. Francis? Why are you calling? Is Matthew okay? She asked, her voice tightening. He had a little accident. Nothing too serious, but I might take him down the mountain tonight. Just wanted to let you know, Francis said casually. Oh my God, what happened? Can I talk to him? She asked, panicked. Calm down. It's not that bad. He hit his head on a tree branch, and he's resting with an ice pack. If he starts acting off, I'll take him to the hospital, Francis assured her. Do I need to come? She asked. No, like I said. Francis ran his thumb over the phone's microphone and slipped it under the table, cutting off reception. Francis? I didn't hear that last part, Ma said, sounding confused. Francis tapped the mic again. 1 bar now, more later, he muttered, then ended the call. Okay, he said with a smirk. We've stopped it. I laughed for the first time in 24 hours. But after we hung up, I needed to know if the ruse had actually worked. Francis believed Ma would cancel her plans and kick the soldier out if she thought I was injured. As we walked back toward my house from the bar, Francis mentioned she probably had her guests park at the supermarket to avoid raising suspicion. How thoughtful of her, I said with a wry grin. Shoo, I think that's him, Francis said, pointing ahead. A man in an army uniform was walking toward us. Francis instinctively moved to stand between us. Good evening, he said to the soldier. The man grunted, clearly caught off guard. Francis stopped walking, forcing the soldier to halt as well, and turned to face us. He looks like you when you were younger, Francis said, looking at me. The soldier's brow furrowed. Then his eyes darted between us as realization hit. Young daddy, meet the real husband, Francis said. You like married women, don't you? I growled, stepping forward. Francis put a hand out to stop me. Easy, down boy, he said loudly, clearly for the soldier to hear. Didn't you notice any photos that looked like an older brother while you were at that married woman's place? I could see the soldier's face change. Until now, Francis had stayed calm, but facing this man brought out his own hurt. She said she was divorced, the soldier stammered. Not yet, but soon, I said through clenched teeth. Oh crap, he muttered, then turned and bolted. I could have caught him. I wanted to, but Francis stepped in front of me again. No, man, don't. For the second time in 2 days, I nearly shoved my best friend aside. But then I saw the grief on his face. I lost Trina to a cheater. I don't want to lose you too, he said softly. I backed off, my fists clenched. You've already lost the main battle, kid, Francis said. If you go after him, maybe you win the small one, but you'll lose the war. You'll look like a fool. Maybe worse. I slumped. Maybe I'll punch him later. In 6 months, once we've got your alibi set, Francis said with a grin. We sat in my rental car in the supermarket parking lot. Ma had kicked the soldier out. Francis believed we'd stopped her at least for now. He was growing tired of my obsession, but he gave me another hour. We spent half of it back at the bar, sipping beers, then returned to the car. A Nissan Sentra with out-of-state plates pulled in. A man got out and walked under the streetlight, checking the signs. He looked eerily like me, maybe a cousin. He started up 3rd Street, so I ran along 2nd, planning to circle back toward the house. Francis shadowed him, keeping me from making contact. I waited at the corner of Maple and 3rd, concealed behind a tree. The guy checked the address, then walked to our front door. I couldn't see Ma, but I heard her voice, low and firm. She cracked the door open, speaking briefly. After a few seconds, she shut it again. The man knocked louder this time. Ma opened it on the security chain and said, I'm sorry, but it's off now. Please leave before I call the police. The door slammed, and I heard the deadbolt click. The guy stood there, realizing he'd come all that way for nothing. What the hell, he muttered. Hey, coward. I called out, but he cut his retreat short when the porch light next door flicked on. As the door opened, he turned and quickly walked back to the sidewalk. Curious retirees had just saved me from being spotted. I stayed hidden while old Virgil Leonard peeked out and watched the man walk away. Once the coast was clear, I moved swiftly down 3rd Street, fighting the urge to knock on my front door. Francis waited for me around the corner on Elm, and we headed back toward Tompkins. In the supermarket parking lot, we heard tires screeching as someone peeled out. Anger and driving don't mix, Francis said. Very dangerous, I agreed. Saturday morning, after a restless night in Francis's guest room, I reviewed the camera footage from the night before. Maeve had been restless too. There was nothing new, but I organized the photos of her escapades to send to my attorney. Should I include the video I took through the window? I asked Francis. Hell no, he replied. What you got from the other camera is enough. Let's not mention sneaking around the house. Think that toy soldier freaked out? I asked while sending the pictures. Francis smirked. Probably. Then his expression darkened. Hope he stops playing tough before he ends up in front of a husband with an unlocked gun. Thanks for ruining my mood, I said. Let's call Kelsey for her wake-up check-in. That might cheer me up. When I turned on my phone, I saw a dozen missed calls and messages from Maeve. I called her. Hey babe, it's Matthew. Sorry Francis scared you. I'm fine now, sticking to the plan. I'll see you tonight. Love you. After I hit send, my phone rang again. It was Kelsey. Hey Kelsey. Wasn't expecting to hear from you on a Saturday morning. Hey Matthew. I saw your new upload on the site, she said. I covered the mic and asked Francis, should I tell her? He nodded. Kelsey, I'm putting you on speaker so Francis can explain why Maeve's night ended early. Good morning, Kelsey, Francis said. Good morning, Francis. What have you two been up to? Did I inspire you with all those zingers I used on Trina? Francis explained the prank calls and messages, but left out the part about sneaking behind the house or confronting the soldier. I like it, Kelsey said once he finished. Are you sure she's canceled the other dates? Wait, she just replied to my last message, I said. Forget the dear. Come home. I need you. I love you. Please come home now. Told you, Francis said. Told him what? Kelsey asked. That she still loves him, despite all this. Kelsey, have you ever dealt with nymphomaniacs in your line of work? People with real mental health issues? I asked. She paused. Yes. I've had clients and their spouses with serious conditions. It's possible. And I'm supposed to just accept that? Forgive her if she claims she couldn't help it? You've seen the photos, how do I unsee them every time I look at her? I don't think you can, Kelsey said. If she's diagnosed with something, it might impact the divorce terms, but no judge will force you to stay married after what she's done. Her words hit hard, and I made up my mind. Kelsey, how fast can you file the papers? I can't live with her anymore. I understand, she said. I'll have some options ready for us to go over Monday. We'll probably need to meet with her and her lawyer before making any final decisions, Kelsey said. Okay, but what do I tell her Monday night when I don't come home? I asked. You won't tell her anything. I'll handle that, Kelsey replied firmly. So what should I do now? I've reviewed everything you've done so far, and honestly, you've handled it well. Doing anything more could backfire. Just sit tight, be patient, and don't do anything impulsive. Francis grinned. I'm trying to keep him from doing anything rash, but he keeps pushing it. Then Kelsey added, by the way, Matthew, didn't you say you were still good for Kay? Francis and I froze, not sure what she meant. Yeah, I think I said something like that, I answered carefully. Good. Run along then. Bye, boys. She hung up. Ma called again, but I followed Kelsey's advice and turned off my phone. With time to kill, I went to buy new running gear. I hadn't brought any with me when I left. Francis came along and joined me for a run, but we stopped at the 3-mile mark, which was his limit. I still had pent-up energy, so Francis suggested another way to let it out. We loaded our rifles into his truck and drove an hour to his shooting range. I fired a lot more rounds than Francis, so while I kept going, he finished up and chatted with the range master. I noticed him glancing my way a few times. What did he say? I asked on the drive back. He asked if I could keep you from shooting anything besides paper targets, Francis replied. I told him I could. As soon as we got back to his apartment, Francis locked my rifle away in his weapons safe. The rest of the weekend was brutal. Francis did everything he could to keep me distracted. We binged Marvel movies, and he rationed my whiskey, making sure I drank non-alcoholic stuff in between. He also took over texting Ma, telling her I was doing fine and still out hunting. On Sunday, he texted her that I planned to spend the day in a tree stand. She's starting to call you an idiot for not coming home, Francis chuckled. Wait till she gets served with divorce papers, I replied. Part of me got some satisfaction from that, but mostly I just felt awful. I still loved Ma, or thought I did, and believed she loved me too. Maybe she'd had some kind of mental break. I started wondering if I'd need therapy myself after all this. After my 4th sleepless night, I woke up Monday morning drained, but certain about going through with the divorce. Ma hadn't just cheated, she'd planned everything and seemed to enjoy it. We texted her from the supermarket parking lot near our house, saying we were heading out again and wouldn't be back until late. I apologized for scaring her on Friday and assured her I was fine. Her reply came quickly. You let me suffer all weekend and still can't give up that deer to come home early? Maybe you should just go to Francis's place because I don't want to see you right now. I had to laugh at the irony. She was suggesting exactly what I'd been planning to do all along. About 15 minutes later, I saw her car heading down 3rd Street, turning right onto Tompkins, her usual route to work. I parked in the alley behind our house, not exactly hiding, but avoiding the front to keep the neighbors from getting curious. Once the coast was clear, I climbed the fence, went in through the back door, retrieved the camera from the living room, and grabbed my new phone from the bedroom. I then grabbed a suitcase from the 2nd bedroom, which had been meant to be a nursery, but had instead become a mix of pantry and closet. That future was now gone, and the thought weighed heavily on my heart. I packed the suitcase with clothes, gold coins from the safe, and my laptop, figuring she'd hear the bad news from Kelsey before realizing I'd been in the house. Back at Francis's, I removed the SD card from the camera and plugged it into the laptop. Exhausted, I brushed my teeth and collapsed onto the bed fully dressed until Francis called to tell me the filming was done. In the living room, Francis was making breakfast sandwiches in the microwave while coffee brewed. The bachelor life, he said. Check out the rest of the footage. It'll make you feel better. My laptop sat on the coffee table with a shot of whiskey next to it. On a Monday morning, and already embracing the life of a divorced man, why not? I downed the shot and braced myself to watch the footage. Francis was right. The video from Friday night to Monday morning was more entertaining and revealing than I expected. After the soldier left, we saw snippets of Maeve pacing the house, phone in hand, talking or texting, trying to check on me. This went on all night Saturday and Sunday. She seemed more and more frustrated as I brushed off her concerns in favor of hunting. I noticed her cleaning up, putting things back in the living room that had been missing, mostly pictures of me. Francis sat next to me, eating sausage biscuits and drinking black coffee. Damn, I said. She really erased me, didn't she? The guard wasn't lying when he said Maeve filed for divorce. Wait, go back, Francis said. Go back to the end of Friday. What do you see? I rewound to an earlier clip. Look at her hands, he said. Maeve was pacing the living room, texting with both hands. I paused the video. What then? Francis prompted. I realized it then. Oh no, no rings. I skipped ahead to around 10:30 on Saturday morning. Here they are, I muttered. She was playing the role of the divorced woman to the last. When I arrived at Kelsey DT's office, she greeted me with a calm, professional demeanor. Tall and dressed in a well-tailored suit, her striking amber eyes assessed me. I can believe the rest of your self-description, she said, noting my height, build, and physique. Have a seat, Matthew. I'm sure it's been a tough weekend. How are you? It's been hard, I replied. Anything new from Maeve? Kelsey asked. I handed her my phone, showing her the latest message I'd received from Maeve. It read, Baby, please ignore my last message. Yes, I'm mad, but I need you home. I'm dying here without you. Please, Maddie. Kelsey read aloud, then said, Okay. It doesn't seem like your wife did this to get rid of you. I have a feeling once she knows you found out, she won't try it again. I can't pretend this didn't happen, I said. No, of course not. Kelsey agreed. But if she explains and promises it won't happen again, could you forgive her? I was ready to snap, but Kelsey raised her hand to stop me. I have to ask about reconciliation, Matthew. The judge will insist on it, and I get the feeling you still love her. I do, but I don't see how I can, I said. You saw the pictures and clips, but you didn't sit through it all. Kelsey didn't need to ask what I meant. She simply said, I understand. But as a family lawyer, I have to see if the family can be saved. Maeve will likely fight to keep you two together, but no, she can't force you into marriage counseling, not in this case. Okay, tell me your plan, and let's work out the property and financial details if you want to file quickly, I said. Since this is for infidelity, do I still have to give her half of everything and pay alimony, since my income is double hers? Kelsey spent the morning answering those questions and more. By the afternoon, with deli sandwiches delivered, she had sketched out a plan to minimize the damage to my finances and position. It was time to pull the trigger, and I nodded at Kelsey. She put my phone on speaker and called Maeve. The call was answered before the first ring ended. Maddie, where are you? Are you coming home? Are you okay? What the hell are you playing at, idiot? Oh God, baby, I need you. Where are you? Maeve said frantically. Mrs. Carson, Kelsey almost shouted to stop Maeve's rant. What? Who is that? Oh my God, where's Matthew? What happened to Matthew? Maeve screamed. Mrs. Carson, my lawyer, Kelsey said louder. Using my phone wasn't the best idea, but we feared she'd ignore any other call. Mr. Carson, Matthew is fine. He wasn't hurt at all. He's fine, Kelsey assured her. But Francis said, Who are you and why are you calling on Matthew's phone? Maeve asked, confused. Mr. Carson gave me his phone to ensure you'd answer, Kelsey explained. I assure you, he's fine. The reports were a hoax. I apologize for the fear they caused. Kelsey stuck her tongue out at me. A prank. What's going on? Who are you and why are you calling my cell phone? Maeve demanded. Mrs. Carson, I'm using Mr. Chris's phone with his permission, and this call is being recorded. Do you mind? Kelsey said. Maeve's voice trailed off, still angry and confused. Why is it being recorded? Who are you? My name is Kelsey Dwight, an attorney with Green Family Law in Springville. Your husband, Matthew Carson, has hired me to represent him in the dissolution of your marriage, Kelsey stated. The dissolution? Maeve repeated, stunned. Yes, Mr. Carson wants the dissolution to be quick and private, Kelsey confirmed. A sordid affair, I imagine. Maeve was stunned, only able to repeat Kelsey's words. Yes, Mrs. Carson, normally, we'd serve you with divorce papers, but Mr. Carson hopes to reach an agreement outside of court. Please contact your attorney as soon as possible, Kelsey instructed. Attorney? Maeve echoed. Yes. Do you have a pen and paper? I'll give you my contact information, Kelsey offered. No, I don't, Maeve replied. I'll send you a message with my contact information. After that, the phone will stop working and you won't be able to contact Mr. Carson through it, Kelsey explained. But I need to talk to Matthew. This is all wrong. We love each other. Is he there? I need to talk to him. Maeve pleaded. I'm sorry, Mrs. Carson, but Mr. Carson isn't ready to talk. Have your lawyer contact me. Goodbye, Kelsey said firmly. Kelsey hung up just as Ma started to speak. That went well, Kelsey said, sending a text with her office information to Ma's phone before disconnecting it. Her tone was sarcastic but carried an underlying sadness. Are you okay? I asked, feeling a strange role reversal. I like protecting spouses from misuse, but cases like this make me sad and tired. There's something strange going on here, Matthew. I think you're doing the right thing, but I don't sense any vindictiveness from your wife. Maybe it's an uncontrollable dependence. She's ruined her life, and neither of you will be happy. I looked at her, unsure of how to respond. Screw me, I muttered. Have I already seen the last happy day of my life? Kelsey shook her head vigorously. No, it sucks now, but it's not the end. We'll connect you with a therapist. If you take counseling seriously, you'll recover faster. Francis waited too long, and it cost him unnecessary pain. Don't make the same mistake. Yeah, it cost me, Francis confirmed a few hours later, as we ate chicken wings, shrimp, and Bloody Marys at a downtown sports bar. I thought therapy was just psychological nonsense, but I ended up wallowing in my own mess, like a clogged toilet. You talked to me for a while, and you could have talked more, I said, trying to ignore his metaphor. I know you had my back, but seeing you and Maeve so happy hurt more than it helped. At least until I got outside counseling. But why? I asked. Because you and Maeve seemed perfect, and it made me grieve for what I'd lost. Realizing I'd been living a lie for so long hurt even more. He sighed. After seeing Kelsey's therapist, I could finally see you two as a sign of hope instead of a reminder of my past. And now it's all turned out to be another lie? I said, frustrated. Screw me, he muttered. Screw me, I repeated, raising my glass for a toast. We clinked quietly and drank deeply. Hey, Matthew, have a seat, Kelsey Dwight said as I entered a small conference room with papers spread out on a table. It was Tuesday afternoon, and I had taken the day off after updating my work information on Monday. I spent most of the day at Francis's, searching for a new apartment since I couldn't stay in my ruined house. I ran 5 miles in the morning and another 3 before meeting Kelsey, hoping the endorphins would help me stay calm. Kelsey had spoken to Maeve that morning, and she said I needed to hear what Ma had to say in person. When the receptionist led me into the conference room, I half expected to see Maeve and her lawyer waiting. Kelsey laughed lightly, waving me into the empty room. No, just us. We needed space to work, she said. As I sat down, she added, Maeve wanted to be here to explain, but if this were a TV show, it would be a classic showdown. Glad it's not television, I said. Kelsey gave me a wicked grin. As I thought about our meeting the day before, I realized I was glad she wasn't like Ma at all. I think you'd be surprised, Kelsey said. But it would be better if you heard it from Maeve. Stop escalating the situation, I said. Here's what, Kelsey replied. She did it all for you. I was shocked. What the hell? I barely stopped myself from speaking more. The profanity faded, and the smirk disappeared from Kelsey's face. She placed her hand over mine as my fists clenched on the table. I felt like I was being painted as some kind of willingly betrayed man. My voice rose, and I started to stand, but Kelsey grabbed my wrist. No, oh God. Matthew. No, she said urgently. I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd take it that way. I'm really sorry. I relaxed slightly and stared at her. Ma didn't say that. She's just very upset that you found out and left her. Left her? I hadn't thought of it that way, but I admitted yes. Then what did you mean by she did it all for me? I asked. The baby, Kelsey said quietly. It hit me. We'd been trying to have a baby for 11 months, and Ma had found someone like me to get her pregnant since I hadn't succeeded. She wanted a baby desperately, and I hadn't realized she was willing to go to such extreme measures. She was doing this to get pregnant? I asked, seeking confirmation. Yes, Kelsey replied, pushing some pages toward me. It was a lab report from 3 months ago, ordered by my gynecologist. It took me a moment to realize Dr. Wellington had provided 2 samples from patient 25473, both with low counts. Am I patient 25473? I asked. Kelsey nodded. But how did she get the samples? I asked, noticing Kelsey's embarrassment for the first time. She secretly took samples for analysis when you couldn't get her pregnant after 6 months, Kelsey explained. Instead of talking to you, she found guys who looked like you and accepted their donations the old-fashioned way. She said your insurance didn't cover art, which is expensive, and you'd already used your savings for the house. I leaned forward, my forehead on the desk. That means I won't have to pay child support if her plan works, right? Kelsey looked even sadder. You'll still need to get tested since you're low, but not zero. Why not? What's wrong? I asked. Ma realized she was exposed, and now you're threatening divorce. So she went to her OBGYN for the morning after pill, Kelsey said. But today isn't the morning after, I said, confused. She was with her first guy Thursday night, Kelsey explained. Dr. Wellington confirmed it. Ma asked her to call me, Kelsey continued. Ma went to extreme lengths to conceive, but now, knowing you won't raise someone else's child, she erased the mistake. It's sad. Then I realized another detail. She did this just before my hunting trip. She was preparing to get pregnant and would have been with me on Monday to reinforce the idea. God knows what diseases she picked up, I said, the weight of it all sinking in. Kelsey held my hand reassuringly. STDs are a concern, but Ma was thinking about that too when she made the appointment. Matthew, she added after a moment. After our meeting yesterday, I reviewed the security footage and noticed something strange. At the beginning of her visits, she'd often look at the smartphones of her visitors. She did this a month ago too. Oh crap, I muttered. What? Kelsey asked. She did it a month ago too. I still have to take the test, I said. She admitted. It was the first and only time when that didn't work. She tried again during your hunting trip. She planned to return to fidelity afterward. I shook off the heartbreaking thoughts. I thought we agreed we wanted at least 2 or 3 children. Did you say something about the camera footage and STDs? I asked. Yes. Did you notice how she often checked her visitors' smartphones shortly after they arrived? Kelsey asked. Yes, I figured she was checking their invites, I replied. She was checking their current STI and HIV test results, Kelsey clarified. Disbelief spread across my face. They get tested regularly? Yeah, they do, Kelsey continued. So what? I asked, trying to process it. Later, over pizza and beer, I asked Francis, do you get tested regularly and carry the results? Actually, yes, I do. I always use protection, and I carry the lab results with me. If I start dating again, I'll probably have to do that nonsense too, Francis said. When you start dating again, he emphasized. But yeah, I'd recommend it, man. He paused. I gotta say, I'm surprised Ma's lawyer let her spill so many details early in the negotiations. She doesn't have a lawyer yet, I replied. Kelsey found her outside her office this morning and insisted on talking. Kelsey advised her to get a lawyer, but Ma was convinced that once I knew the truth, I'd call off the divorce. And how did that work out? Francis asked. Riley, Kelsey said. Ma believed her plan made so much sense that I'd come home tonight. Francis handed me another beer. We sat in his apartment, and I planned to stay there while I figured out if I could live in the same town as Ma, let alone the same house. A week and a half later, I found myself back in the conference room at Green Family Law. Kelsey and I sat on one side. Ma and her attorney sat on the other. Mr. Carson, said the balding lawyer, Mr. Witt, we have 2 problems. First, Mrs. Carson wants to stay married. Second, if reconciliation is impossible, the proposed agreement is insufficient. It suggests a 50-50 division of property, but doesn't include all marital assets, and the proposed spousal support is too low and too short-lived. Kelsey tapped my foot under the table, signaling I told you so. I acknowledged it faintly. Mr. Phillip, Kelsey interjected, Mr. Carson has agreed to pay 60% of your fees as part of the assets. This shows remarkable fairness for a man who's been wronged. The judge will take note of this. If we can't resolve these issues here, we will need to go to court. I wanted the case over with and for Ma to be treated fairly, not to get half of everything, but to avoid living in a disadvantaged area or moving in with her parents. She refused to get a lawyer, thinking we shouldn't divorce. With her salary, she could only afford a subpar lawyer, so I asked Kelsey to find someone decent for her. Kelsey continued, what about my client's quality of life? You've seen the evidence, Mr. Phillip. Imagine what he goes through every night with those images in his head. It was dramatic, but Kelsey wasn't exaggerating. I struggled with therapy, even though Kelsey and Francis assured me it would help. Ironically, the psychiatrist consultation was covered by my health plan, unlike Art, which could have prevented all this. I'm so sorry, Maddie, so sorry, Ma sobbed, and Philip squeezed her hand. Miss DT, Philip said, while I sympathize with Mr. Carson, our state's laws don't consider these matters when dividing marital property or awarding spousal support. Mr. Phillip, Kelsey snapped, if your client doesn't agree to the negotiated offer, we won't file it. If we go to court, she added, placing her hand on a thicker pile of papers. This petition will be filed on the grounds of your client's infidelity, Kelsey said. The settlement terms here are much less generous. I saw Philip's hand tremble as he wanted to open the package but held back. Okay, I thought. I'd secured Ma fair representation. But making this case public would embarrass me. and it would be even worse for her. Especially since we'd subpoena the names of all the people involved in her affairs and conduct a paternity test on the child she tried to conceive with them. Ma gasped, then let out a sound of deep sadness. Okay, stop it. Philip shouted indignantly. There's no need to be so rude, Mr. Witt. Mrs. Carson took measures to avoid conception. Despite wanting a child with Mr. Carson, a desire he shared, Kelsey continued. My baby, our baby. I whispered. Kelsey placed her hand on mine and pressed her foot against mine, but Ma interrupted. It would be ours, yours and mine. The lawyers agreed to a short break. Kelsey led me to her office, while Philip escorted Ma outside. When we reconvened, Philip continued. Mrs. Carson took drastic measures, forced by her husband's stubbornness, to prevent conception, even though it could have been Mr. Carson's child. Kelsey stood firm, sensing my anger. Her next words were softer, directed at Ma. We understand that Mrs. Carson made a difficult decision and did the right thing under the circumstances. Mr. Carson and I recognize the pain she must be feeling. She then turned back to Philip. Unfortunately, it hasn't been determined if your client's intervention was successful. She may still be pregnant. We need to address this threat at the root. I glanced at Ma, who looked pale, fearing she might faint. Kelsey continued. The agreement states that any such child would not belong to my client. Mr. Carson will take a paternity test to confirm this. If we go to court, we will demand the same from any potential fathers. Kelsey wanted to add, if she decides to carry the baby, but I vetoed that there was already enough tension. Ma pressed her lawyer's hand, and they discussed their next steps. All that aside, Philip said, we'd like to return to Mrs. Carson's original position not to file for divorce. Instead, she and her husband should go to counseling and find a solution to start a family. Why couldn't she have done this from the beginning? I almost howled. Why not just tell me instead of cheating? Mr. Carson, Matthew, Philip began, but I slammed my fist on the table. I stared at the surface and said through clenched teeth, I'm already in counseling. My therapist says the why question is like a funnel. I can't heal until it fills up. He suggested I ask Ma to join a session, but now I need to know why you brought strangers into our bed instead of telling me about the problem. My client didn't. Philip started, but Ma interrupted. I didn't want to hurt you by telling you that you couldn't give me a baby, Ma insisted. You're so focused on your physicality, and I didn't want you to think you weren't enough. Oh my God, am I really such an idiot? I asked, wondering if I'd missed some character flaw. No, she repeated. I said it wrong. She took a breath. If we could afford IVF, I would have told you, but we couldn't. We wanted to start a family now, so it was about the donor, not about breaking out of the monotony of marriage. I asked. Exactly, Ma exclaimed. Why would I ever want to run away? So, you didn't enjoy it? I asked. She flinched but continued, don't you see? Yes, I called them folders on my page, but they were really all about you. Any memories were connected to you. Like those multiverse comic book movies you love, I could add the memories of being with you whether younger or older into the wonderful memories I have of being with you now. And when you thought back to those encounters, feeding the child one of those alternate cells had put inside you, you always thought of your real self, right? She grimaced at my words, but nodded. Yes, always about you. I turned to look at Kelsey, who raised her eyebrows in question. I nodded silently. She reached for the other folder, circled in red the nuclear option. As I spoke, Kelsey slowly pulled out a series of photos and placed them in front of Ma and her lawyer. The 8x10 color photos were taken from both the front and back cameras in the house, as well as a video I had shot Friday night while spying. Ma's face turned from gray to green, and she barely made it to the trash can before vomiting. Our house on 3rd Street sold quickly, despite us owning it for less than 2 years. It had appreciated enough to pay off the mortgage and cover moving expenses. I moved from Francis's apartment to a work-friendly condo, and Mom moved back to her hometown. However, she managed to get a small apartment instead of moving back into her childhood bedroom. She wasn't pregnant, and she found a decent job that allowed her to live reasonably. The child support I paid for 5 months wasn't a huge strain, and I was glad she wouldn't be destitute when it stopped after the 6th month. She'd brought this misfortune on both of us, and her betrayal still haunted me. She was the love of my life, and I knew her remorse and regret were genuine. Her last letter said she still hoped for reconciliation, but that seemed unlikely. Therapy helped me release my anger and despair, and I no longer saw myself as a huge loser facing decades of dull monotony. As for Trina, she ended up as a barista at a Starbucks, blaming Francis for her troubles, even though there was no evidence to support it. The police cleared him, with witnesses and surveillance footage proving he was at a Foo Fighters concert that night. Looking ahead, once I paid the last amount of spousal support, I would have fulfilled all my obligations from the divorce, and Kelsey Dwight would no longer be my attorney. When she found out I had attended an art exhibit and enjoyed it, She said she wished our first date had been at the gallery too. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.